Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down Dune Prophecy. Hot off the heels of our 2-hour breakdown of part 1 and 2, I'm diving back into the Duneverse with this brand new teaser. There's a lot going on with it, and in this video we're going to be going through the hidden details, things you missed, and genuinely just explaining the story and characters. It's basically about the origins of the Spice Girls. I know a lot of people are confused about what exactly is going on in it, but fear not, because fear is the mind killer. We have got you covered, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for breakdowns in the series when it releases. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into Dune Prophecy.
10,000 years before the birth of Paul Atreides, before the universe would know us as the Bene Gesserit, we founded a sisterhood.
Now the trailer begins with us in space, travelling through a gas cloud that appears to be an eye. Eyes of course represent sight, and sight is something that's laced throughout the Dune saga. Prescience is the ability to see the future, which is something that Paul possesses. Beyond that though, the Bene Gesserit are attempting to look to the future and create the Kwisatz Haderach. This will be known as the Supreme Being who will rule over all. Now, they'll do this in a number of ways, with them first mating the bloodline of key houses. The book explains that over generations they'll create a family tree where certain members of houses mate with certain other members of houses. These will then have children that mate with others, and over time it'll help refine the bloodline. Eventually this will lead to the Kwisatz Haderach, which was believed to be Jessica's grandchild. The original plan was for her to have a daughter who would then mate with Feyd. However, she decided to have a son, and thus their well-laid plans were seemingly corrupted. Now, Bene Gesserit can control the gender of their children, and this is how they select the bloodlines themselves. Often they'll put themselves forth as a mother and will reproduce with certain people. For example, Margot Fenring had sex with Feyd to secure the Harkonnen bloodline, and Jessica was born through this as well. I know some people see the books by Brian Herbert as being not canon like that, saying they're not canon all the time, but I actually like them. Well, the one I read anyway. Finished House of Atreides the other night, and that explains Jessica's conception. Helen Mahine went to the Baron and demanded they bear a child. She was born but considered too weak, and thus Helen was made to go back. This time though, the Baron wanted to be sadistic, and he ended up paralysing her with the help of Peter de Vries. Upon forcing himself on her, she released a toxin from her body that eventually led to his extreme weight gain. So it's that sort of system, and this show will explore the origins of the Gesserit. Now why they're so desperate for their plans to be carried out is because they aren't allowed to rule. Women in general cannot sit on the throne and lead, and at best they're wives, concubines, or advisors in council. Planting their pawn on the throne though will mean they can rule over all, and ultimately this is one grand power play. As we hear, this is 10,000 years before the birth of Paul Atreides, and thus it sets it at 191 AG. I think. First Dune movie is set 10191 AG, so yeah, roughly then. Now in the books, AG stands for After Guild, which means after the Spacing Guild was formed. The Spacing Guild are capable of travelling space, and they consume spice in order to do this. Time and space are warped through wormholes, which this eye effect also seems to solidify. With the timeline of Dune itself, we have about 34,000 years of history, with there being both BG and AG, much in the same way that we have BC and AD. Before this time, we have things like the Butlerian Jihad, which was basically a war against the machines, and also the age of 10,000 emperors. The first Mentat Order formation was 1234 AG, with the first Reverend Mother being 6600 AG. However, they might change things up for the show, as there's so much stuff that they could really tap into, and let's be honest, it'll make the series more interesting. Now from this eye, we then transition to what I think is a bowl of water. Water is sacred on Arrakis, which is where all spice comes from, and it's very important to focus on this in the trailer. I do believe at this time that Arrakis hadn't been fully harvested. There may still be some greenery there, but if they're doing space travel, then they have access to spice. Comments, let me know below if it's all been taken away. There's 34,000 years of stuff to remember, so I'm sure I've messed up something. So yeah, if you know otherwise and you know the correct thing, Comments away, you call me a mug. Now either way, the Benny are centered around this praying, and ideas of circle are carried on in the next shot when we see a ship landing. The Benny can be seen in a circle, and we hear Valia Harkonnen talking about the founding of the sisterhood. Now you kids at home, yeah, you might be wondering how she's able to narrate things about Paul, even though she was alive generations, like millennia before he was born. But you see guys, this all ties into the genetic memory that characters can tap into. Upon consuming the water of life, someone's able to go into the genetic memory of their bloodline and see all of their ancestors. This helps them plan strategies, and at points they can even communicate with them. Alia ends up talking with one of her ancestors quite a lot, and eventually this leads to a lot of trouble. Later the second also constantly switches personalities and God Emperor of Dune, with him even going back to ancient Rome in his bloodline. So I believe in order to tie this into the main films that we will see a character from them at some point tapping into their genetic memory. Valia will then explain the creation of the sisterhood, and this could then segue into the show. Just a theory time there. But I think that would be a good way to tie it all together. Anyway, this ship could potentially be landing in order to join the funeral procession that we see being carried out. A body is shifted along, and when it's taken to the top, we can see the two pillars from where the ship landed. As we hear, the Benny have been assigned to the Great Houses, and we see this when we meet the Emperor. Played by Mark Strong, this is Emperor Javico Carino. His descendant Shaddam was who we met in Dune Part 2, and we have someone Christopher walking towards him. Now I believe this is Travis Fimmel, who's playing Desmond Hott. Described as a charismatic soldier with an enigmatic past, he seeks to gain the Emperor's trust at the expense of the Sisterhood. Now beside the Emperor, we can catch one of the Benny, and over the top of this, the voiceover says they're there to help sift the truth from lies. This likely means the figure is a truthsayer, aka a human lie detector. In the Duneverse, truthsayers are employed to make sure that people who come before the houses are being truthful, and this is why we often see the Benny with the Emperors. You cut to part 2, and at the end when Shaddam questioned the Baron, that's why Helen Maheim was there. Now this is also why in part 1, the Baron didn't just out and out kill Jessica and Paul. He said he wouldn't touch them, and thus they were led to the desert. I know at the time, a lot of people thought it was pretty stupid, but doing this meant he could pass a truthsayer. Now we then see her use what I believe is the voice, and then tap her fingers together. This is known as battle language, and it's basically signaling so people can communicate with each other silently. It's often used during the fog of war, but with Jacino ushering a new age of peace, it's now elevated to the houses. Also, if I'm talking out my arse, yeah, stop me. Now, the Benny is also getting it on with the Emperor, I believe, which we see in the next shot. However, if we cut to 40 seconds, we can see the guy has a wife. This is Empress Natalia, who's described as being a formidable royal that has united thousands of worlds with her marriage to the Emperor. So I think this shot might be the Benny securing the bloodline, but let me know below exactly what you think. Either way, it's a sexy little scene in the next shot, and we then get more eye imagery. Now, if you love yourself some Dune, then definitely check out our partners at Arrow Video. They've got tons of 4K Blu-rays on the site, including the original David Lynch version, and if you use the code HEAVYSpoilers at checkout, you're going to get 10% off, mate. Just click my link in the description and use the code HEAVYSpoilers and you're going to get 10% off. Got RoboCop on there as well, mate. Definitely go check them out because I've got some really good films, and yeah, 10% off, it helps you out. Now to this eye, we see Valia at the center, who's looking ahead and planning things out. Though she's an ancestor of Vladimir Harkonnen, it's also important to bear in mind that she's Paul's ancestor as well. She talks about how they're trying to get her sister on the throne, which ties into this whole power play. This will be Princess Inez, who's described as an independent young princess dealing with the pressures of her responsibility as heir to the Golden Lion throne. In case you don't know, the Golden Lion is the Carino sigil. And we see these pressures playing out as her marriage ceremony happens in the trailer. Guy she's marrying is super young, and he even has to stand on a box to be level with her. There's clearly some Benny that don't want to go through with it, and they believe it's playing God. However, power, it's all that matters here, and thus things go ahead. We then get some sparring shots involving shields and can catch the actor Chris Mason. He's playing Kieran Atreides, with the character being a swordsmaster. It says he forms an unexpected connection to a royal family member, which disrupts things, and my guess he gets too close to Inez. This scene is of course riffing off the one from the first film visually, with the lighting and so on being similar to that. We then get some epic HBO shots, mate, and they're bloody spent money here. Amongst this, you can also catch a fire burning, and I believe this is the formation of the Benny in ancient times. There are men there though, so who knows, but yeah, I think this might be a flashback. We then see a frozen wasteland and the beginning of the Sardaukar forces. They're as deadly as usual, with them being trained on a prison planet to be the best of the best of the best, sir. Lastly, we have a woman writhing and shooting up, and it's possible that this might be the Water of Life ceremony. She writhes kinda similar to Jessica, and yeah, maybe they're doing that. However, like I said before, the first Reverend Mother was 6600 AG, so this could instead be her giving birth to a child. I think it's more likely to be that, and we close out with Alia sitting on the throne. Obviously, this carries a lot of symbolism to it, and it shows the true extent of exactly what she wants. This is the same throne that the Emperor sat on at the beginning, and it perfectly sums up what her plans are. Anyway, that's everything I noticed in the trailer, and hopefully this has helped to clear things up. If it has, then please smash a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave your comments below. Please drop a like on the video as well, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Side Squad, then please click the join button. You'll get early access to our videos every week, and it goes a massive way towards helping us out. You want some heavy spoilers merch? We've also got our t-shirt line located below the video that will let you pick up all kinds of tops like our New Time ones, House of Dragons stuff, the boys ones, and a lot more. It's all top quality clothing, accentuates the best part of your bodies, looks good around the chest, loose around the waist, and yeah mate, you're gonna look smashing for the summer shampoo. Now if you want something else to watch, we also have that 2-hour Dune breakdown on screen right now. I promise you though, it is worth it, and if you want to become a Dune expert in just 2 hours, then that's the video for you. With that out of the way, huge thank you for sticking through this one. I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.